Hey everybody, welcome back to another reasonable price prediction, the series where we try to figure out where your favorite altcoins could be headed. Now today we're looking at Crust Network, and as you can see we don't have too much data to work with. We have less than one cycle basically. So I'm mainly in this video going to be focusing on the recent trends that Crust Network has been going through. And as we can see, for the last 2 years more or less, Crust has been operating within this Fibonacci retracement level, and I've drawn the high for the fib band at the local top that we put in for Crust Network at early 2023, and the low is for the all-time low of Crust Network that we put in at the end of 2023, about 7-8 months ago, give or take, October time. And like I said before, you can see that we've pretty clearly spent 2 years within this time frame. But what's interesting is that we seem to be repeating ourselves. In early 2023, we made this move to the upside and put in our local top over here. And then we had a very long sort of, for the rest of the year, basically, for 8 months, we just went downwards. And then at the end of 2023, start of 2024, we made this move to the upside again. So within a year, we went up for 2 months and down for 8 months. And more or less, the displacement was zero because we started at this level of sort of 50 cents and we ended at this level of 50 cents. And before this, if we're going to assume that this is the start of the cycle, we missed out on the start of it here, but we basically did have the same move where we moved down from these tops from kind of early of 2022. You could say February time, we might have reached these highs. Of course, we were much higher then, but we moved down and went through a similar move that we saw here, where we just went down for about 8 months and stayed at these lows for about 8 months. And if we zoom in and take a look at what Crust is currently doing, we can see that we've come to these highs again. We've been rejected. Now it's put up much longer of a fight, but it's still been rejected. It's fallen down through the retracement levels one by one, and now we're at this final low, and it looks like we could be breaking to the downside. We saw last time that we spent about 12 weeks from where we moved down below it to where we finally had our final rejection and went down to the final fib retracement level. So we could be staying at this level for a while, potentially for the next 3 months, maybe even longer. Again, could be less. But if it's going to play out like it did a year ago, then we could be looking at spending a good bit of time back here. But what also kind of corroborates this theory that we could be going down and see a rejection here is after we got this high here back in February, where we also got a high here in February, we spent 3 months going down, and in May we finally dropped below this level. And where would you put us now? Would you believe it? We're in May, and we're finally moving down below this level. And again, since we kind of have data from May, give or take, you can actually see that in late May, which is the same week as here, this was late May, we're currently in late May. If you go back to the start and see that in late May, we made strong downward moves that ultimately, very soon afterwards, brought us down below this final fib retracement level. And you can see we spent a while here, a good amount of time here actually, quite a long time, kind of oscillating just below this level until we eventually had a capitulation and dropped back down, and then the move to the upside that then kind of started this pattern. Just to reiterate really quickly, we've had downward price movements from the majority of Crust over the last 2 years, with short but extreme bursts of upward volatility, and it always seems to happen at the kind of the start of the year and end by February time, and we often drop, or so far we have every single time, dropped below this final fib level, or the second last fib level, where again, we can spend a bit of time here, but we ultimately tend down to the base, the zero fib level. And that's happened the last 2 times. I would be inclined to believe it's probably going to happen a 3rd time. I think the crypto space is actually, it's in much worse of a situation than people actually think it is. I think we're going to see a bit of pain over the next few months. But that's just what I think. If I was a gambling man, and I've been asked to give a potential options play, or at least I think I was, I personally would probably short Crust Network here at this 90 cent range where we currently are. I would put my stop loss at the $1.20 level, and then I'd put my take profit somewhere down at the 55 cent level. And now I know the take profit is quite high, but realistically we could have a rebound to this upside. Even though we haven't done it before, it doesn't mean it can't happen. And you could even bring that stop loss down lower, but as you can see, we do get volatile moves. I mean, if you just you'd have stuck that here, you would have hit the stop loss quite earlier. So I think the fib levels are probably your best range to operate in. Again, you can adjust that take profit and stop loss depending on your risk tolerance. I wouldn't really touch it, but that's totally up to you. But to me, most signs are saying Crust is going to experience some short-term downward trend. But anyway, looking at the Ethereum, it's kind of a similar story. Ethereum hasn't even done particularly well in the altcoin space, but compared to most others, it's held up well. But we haven't had this strong move to the upside like we've seen with a lot of other altcoins, like we've recently seen with Phantom, like we saw with Thorchain back in August, like we saw with Avalanche and Solana. All these coins that have had crazy moves to the upside, Ethereum hasn't had this. So we can say that it's kind of stayed relatively consistent in the crypto space. Its price hasn't fluctuated drastically, and we can see that Crust is still underperforming it, and it has been basically since 2022, and it hasn't been around much longer before that. It kind of launched at the end of 2020, so for the majority of its time, it's basically just been trending down. And you can actually see we've now put in this new all-time low this week, which kind of does also fit nicely with this trend that we seem to be following, these two trend lines that we seem to be operating within. And we can see just how badly it's gotten, because when Crust kind of first had a bounce, this little high, this resistance that it first met would have been considered pretty pitiful. You know, it's not anything to celebrate about, but that was also our most recent high, and we made a strong move to get up to this level. So again, this is against Ethereum, so it's not even Bitcoin. Bitcoin would even be a worse chart to look at. It would just be down, basically. Crust has struggled quite a lot, so it's not a very bullish sentiment. However, this isn't too unusual. I mean, again, Ethereum is a bit of a blue chip. Most altcoins during non-bull run times are going to underperform Ethereum and Bitcoin. So while I'm saying this is a bad thing for Crust, it doesn't mean it's particularly unusual, although it definitely is more of a severer case than most. We have been struggling quite a lot, and again, while we do have these strong moves to the upside every now and then at the start of the year, ultimately it keeps capitulating down. And again, the worrying thing with the Ethereum pair is that while on the US dollar pair by May, we were looking at May specifically, we still had a bit of headroom before we came down to our lows. In May, Crust has already crossed and oftentimes gone lower than its lows in May, and we can see that currently where we are, again, we've gone down to new all-time lows. So if you're holding Ethereum and you're thinking about moving that Ethereum into Crust, this could be a good time. You might want to hold on for a little longer. Again, it's however you interpret this graph. Some people will see opportunity, some people will see dead altcoin. I don't think the coin is dead. I think that's harsh. Now, I haven't done a huge amount of research in things like volume and TVL and all these other things that are good signals for an altcoin, but it has been, this bear market has been particularly brutal compared to most others. It's been long, and because of that, well, everything in the crypto space has suffered, but especially these altcoins that are like, not in the top 500, not in the top 100, they've suffered a lot. So again, it's up for you for interpretation. We can see that on the Ethereum pair as well, in May we do spend, like on the US dollar chart, we do tend to go sideways for a long time. We probably will go sideways once we bounce off this low. We could break even lower down on this low. There's definitely a strong potential for that. I would not consider this an up-only kind of situation. But again, just zooming out, you can see it's not great. But again, 2021, we can see the bull run. What kind of a percentage did we make? We made huge gains against Ethereum. That's 2,000%. But if you check how far it's dropped from all-time high to today, you basically have no money left if you held Crust from here to here. You're down 99.72%, which is ultimately nothing. That might as well be a rug pull. I'm not saying that the project is a rug pull, but I'm saying rug pulls have less severe losses than this move. You know what I mean? So again, and like I said, if we take a look at the US dollar pair, we can see that from the high, Crust went down again drastically. If we're looking at the all-time low, it's basically the same thing. It went from just below $200 to 40 cents. And again, that's like, people will see different things. Some people will go, oh my god, it's at 90 cents now. I can pick this up and potentially it could go back up to $20 and I've made a 20x. 100% that could be the case. If that's a risk you want to take that risk. But other people see, oh my god, it's dropped 99.73%. It's a dead coin. Again, it's which side of the fence do you fall on? For me, I don't think it's a dead coin, but I haven't looked into it enough. It's something you have to look into and be sure of, because if you're going to put any amount of money in this, it could go to zero. It could drop another 99% from its prices already. I mean, if it goes back to its low, it's already going to be dropping 55%. So you have to be prepared to lose the money you're putting in. But I know you already know this, and I know I'm rambling at this stage, so thank you very much for watching the video. If you liked, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike too. That's totally fine. Comment down below if you're holding Crust and which way you think it's going to go in the short and long term. Always love hearing from you guys down in the comments, so please say hello. Anyway, thanks so much guys. Take care and peace.